Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another DFO Fantasy Show. It is Monday, January the 5th. I'm your host, Brock Siegman, managing fantasy editor of dailyfaceoff.com. And today we have fantasy hockey news and notes, Brock's lock of the day, which needs to catch a win here. And we'll take a look at the Week 14 strength of schedule to identify the best streaming candidates for this week. But before we get to all that, let's get to the news and notes. We will start in Washington, where Tom Wilson left Saturday's game with a lower body injury and is still being evaluated, but does seem like he's going to miss some time. Expect a full timeline to be released sometime today ahead of their game tonight. And then also Alexei Protas missed Saturday's game with an injury. He's day-to-day with a lower body injury there. He sounds like he's going to miss slightly less time than Wilson, but again, we should get more information on both of those injuries today. So Wilson does sound like he's going to miss at least an extended period of time here. Protas still kind of day to day. So we'll see who ends up in the lineup, and their injuries are really going to impact our Week 14 streamers, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Now let's go to Colorado, where Gabriel Landeskog had to be helped off the ice yesterday after catching an edge and crashing hard into the net. Head coach Jared Bednar told reporters post-game that he is going to miss some time. It sounds like it's a rib injury. He kind of crashed rib first into the post. Sounds like he's going to miss some time there. And then also with the Avalanche, Devon Toews, he got hurt on Saturday. He crashed kind of awkwardly into the boards. He got hurt Saturday, returned to the game, finished the game, but then missed Sunday's game. And Bednar also said that he's going to miss some time. So two key injuries, top line and top D pair injuries there for the Avalanche. But on the positive note here for the Avalanche, it does look like Mackenzie Blackwood is going to be back soon. He has now been upgraded to day-to-day. He's targeting a return to the crease on Thursday when the Avalanche face the Ottawa Senators. Now to Florida, where Seth Jones is considered day-to-day. He got hit up high by a puck in the Winter Classic, and then he missed Sunday's game versus the Avalanche. Aaron Ekblad, who took over in the Winter Classic, will continue to operate Power Play 1 while Jones is sidelined. And then the last bit of news here, we've got Jamie Benn. He left Sunday's game after landing face first, as you can see here on screen, on the ice. He's one of the few players that plays without a visor these days. Landed face first on the ice. Tough looking injury for the veteran. The Stars did say that he will be reevaluated on Monday. So that's going to do it for the news and notes. We will now get to Brock's lock of the day. This segment is a presentation of Betway. Join the action and download the Betway app. Create an account today and enjoy our sign-up bonus, 18 plus, and please play responsibly. So, Byfield and Mantha both blew it for us on Thursday, and now suddenly Brock's lock has turned into not so much of a lock as of late. We have lost 4 in a row and are in the red for the first time this season. So, really tough week last week. Hopefully we can get back on track tonight. And I'm going to give you a couple options here. So I'm going to go to Calgary tonight. And I'll give you the choice to play 1 or 2 or none of them. But Mikael Backlund and Blake Coleman anytime points are both plus 115 tonight. So I like both of them. I'll make a case for both of them. You can play one or the other or both. Up to you there. We'll start with Backlund, who is riding a 7-game point streak. So obviously has been scorching hot there. He has scored 5 goals, 5 assists with 10 points during that stretch. That includes a 2-goal game versus the Seattle Kraken, who he will face tonight. And then there's Coleman, who has points in 7 of his last 9 games. So that's 77.8% of the time. As of late, he is picking up a point. He has totaled 8 points, 5 goals, 3 assists. He's been bumped up to the top power play unit. Coleman has been hot. And then you've got the matchup. The Kraken have been the worst defensive team in the league as of late. They have given up 4.2 expected goals against per 60 in their last 10 games in all situations. That is half a expected goal more than the second worst team during that stretch. So the Kraken are giving up a ton of quality chances as of late. Backlund and Coleman are red hot. They should both have plenty of opportunities to get on the score sheet tonight. So both at plus 115. You got really good value here. They've both been playing well. The matchup is great. So I like both Backlund and Coleman to get a point tonight. And the good thing about playing one or both of them is that they play at a line together. So they correlate. So a lot of times when one gets a point, point, the other gets a point. So if you do end up playing both of them, if you're feeling confident in this one tonight, you do end up playing both of them, they could end up getting it all on one goal. That would obviously be great. Get the sweat out of the way. That's going to do it for Brock's Lock of the Day. Hopefully we can get back on track. Now let's get to the strength of schedule and the Week 14 streaming targets. As always, you can get the strength of schedule at dailyfaceoff.com by going to schedule. You click strength of schedule, and then here you go. So you can do this every single week. You look ahead to next week, whenever you want. Look ahead to the fantasy hockey playoffs. You can, the world is your oyster here. But we're going to look at Week 14 here, and it's a pretty easy week for streaming targets. We've got three teams that we're really targeting. The Washington Capitals and Utah Mammoth, primarily because they have 4 games. All 4 are on light nights. It is a busy week in the NHL, but it's very traditional. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, super busy. So you're going to want to focus on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So when we say light nights, we're talking about 8 games or less. So if you're new to the show, we're really targeting teams that play on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, because your lineups are already going to be pretty full on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You're not, even if you pick somebody up that plays on those days, you're not going to be able to squeeze them into your lineup. So we want guys that are playing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. The Capitals and the Mammoth, all 4 of their games fall on those days. You are going to be able to pick these players up and get them into your lineup with ease. And then you've got the LA Kings. They've got 3 late night games. The good news about their 3 late night games is they come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which means even if you stream a King, you can easily drop them for somebody who plays on Sunday. There's 10 teams that play on Sunday, whether it's a goalie that, if you need goalie help on Sunday or a skater help, it gives you some flexibility there too. So I really like the Kings this week. Those are the 3 teams we're going to focus on. We'll start with the Washington Capitals because not only do they have 4 late night games, but they have the 8th easiest average opponent rating of the week. Really, really good matchups. As you see, I mean, if you look at it here, the Ducks on Monday is a fantastic matchup. The Stars, I mean, traditionally not a great matchup. I just talked about the Seattle Kraken giving up half an expected goal more per game over their last 10 games than the second worst team in the league. The second worst team in the league during that stretch is the Dallas Stars, believe it or not. Second worst in all situations, expected goals against in the NHL over their last 10 games. And then they've got the Blackhawks, and then they've got the Predators. So if you look at the Ducks, Blackhawks, and Predators, if you combine goals against and expected goals against on the season in all situations, all 3 of them are bottom 10 in the NHL. Plus, the Dallas Stars are suddenly playing poor defensively. This is 4 really good matchups. The Capitals are quite clearly the best team to stream this week if you're trying to maximize your games played. So really, really like it. Sets up for a very strong offensive week for the Capitals, and they've got some options. And again, it kind of all depends what happens with Wilson and with Protas. The lines are probably going to shuffle if Protas is back. It sounds like Wilson's out, so I'm just going to operate under the assumption that Wilson's out. Protas could throw a wrinkle into things, but we're going to start with Ryan Leonard, who's 18% rostered. He was already on the top power play unit. He was there. He's playing on that top unit. But then when Tom Wilson got hurt, we saw Leonard move up the lineup. He moved up to the second line here. He was skating with Sardif and Connor McMichael, who we'll both talk about in a moment here. And he logged a season-high 20 minutes and 21 seconds in that game. So that is with no Protas, no Wilson. That is the kind of usage you could kind of expect here if both of them are out this week. So Protas, as I mentioned, currently day-to-day, and if he returns, it could certainly impact Leonard. He could end up on the second line and bump Leonard back down to the third line. But it really shouldn't matter much because Leonard enters this week with 15 points, 5 goals, and 10 assists in his last 16 games, while averaging 2.2 shots on goal, 3.9 shot attempts, and 1.3 hits. So he's also got some banger league appeal, which we've talked about previously. So he's accomplished all of that while averaging under 16 minutes per night. So if he does go back to the third line with that top power play unit usage, I'm really not that worried. But the possibility, the upside, if he remains in the top 6 and he sees 18, 19, 20 minutes here, I mean, it's massive. He could have a huge, huge week. I think the other thing that is super possible is that Protas returns and takes Connor McMichael's spot. And McMichael goes down to the third line. Frank moves over to the right side. Duhaime back to the third line, or fourth line, excuse me. I think Protas could also return and bump Anthony Beauvillier down the lineup. Beauvillier to the third line and Frank over to the right wing. So I do think that Leonard sets up to be seeing pretty good 5v5 usage this week. And then, as I mentioned, the power play usage is there. In those 16 games, of those 15 points, a third of them are on the power play. 5 power play assists during that stretch. Has not scored a power play goal during that time, but he's got some banger league appeal. He's going to provide some power play point upside. He's going to provide just standard league upside. There's a lot to like about Leonard. He is the #1 stream this week, and it's quite honestly not close. Then you've got Connor McMichael, who, again, Protas's availability is really going to change things. But McMichael's not really a player that needs to play in the top 6 to be productive. And it's kind of been his MO this year. We've seen McMichael on the first line. We've seen McMichael on the second line. We've seen McMichael on the third line. We've seen McMichael on the left wing. We've seen him on the right wing. We've seen him at center. He's used to this. He moves up and down the lineup frequently. And maybe that hurts him a little bit, and he has been quiet offensively as of late. He has gone goalless in his last 11 games, which is 4 assists during that stretch. That said, again, with the injuries to Wilson and Protas, he played 22 minutes and 7 seconds on Saturday with both of them injured, and could be in line for massive minutes if both of them miss this week. So over his last 20 games, he's got 3 goals. He's got 11 points. He's a solid secondary streaming option if Leonard is gone. But again, Leonard is quite clearly the best option. Now, if they're both gone and you really got to dig deep in deeper leagues here, we're going to talk about Justin Sardif and Anthony Beauvillier, both 1% owned, really quick. Sardif is locked into a top 6 role with Pierre-Luc Dubois out, and his underlying numbers have been absolutely excellent. The surface level production, though, has been extremely modest. He has 3 multi-point performances in his last 9 games, but in the games, he either has multiple points in a game or has no points. He only has 6 points in those 9 games, 2 goals, 4 assists. So he has 3 multi-point games and 6 games with 0 points. So that just kind of shows what he's capable of. I think like as a streaming candidate, he makes some sense, right? Like he can have those big games. He plays big minutes. He plays with good players. So I think he's got some appeal in super deep leagues. He offers some banger league value as well. So he averages 1.5 shots on goal, which is just okay. And then 1.1 hits per game, which is just okay. So he has he's a little bit of a floor and can help you out in those extended formats. But again, 1% owned, really not focusing on him too much, but in those deepest of deepest leagues, I think he makes some sense. And then Beauvillier fits a very similar profile to Sardif in terms of the underlying metrics are extremely strong, at least offensively. Defensively, they're terrible, but offensively, which is all we really care about, really good. He's just been inconsistent, hasn't picked up a lot of points this year. He has picked up 3 points in his last 5 games, though, and he's kind of always going to be in this streaming conversation while he's skating on that top line with Strome and Ovechkin. That trio's got really, really good offensive metrics this year. So, again, deepest leagues for Beauvillier, but if you need to tap into the Washington Capitals and you can't get your hands on Leonard or McMichael, Sardif and Beauvillier are the next best options. Now let's go to Utah, where their options are extremely limited. And while they also have 4 late night games like the Capitals do, the matchups are way more difficult. So you see here, average opponent rating. So we're taking a look at who gives up the most quality scoring chances and who gives up the most scoring chances against. That's how we determine the opponent rating. So teams that are worse defensively are going to have a higher opponent rating. So that means the Capitals opponents are basically 2 times as good as the Utah Mammoths this week. Obviously, the Rangers, the Senators, the Blues, and the Blue Jackets. There's some okay matchups in there, but some really tough ones as well. So, yes, they have 4 light nights this week, but honestly, you got to focus on the Capitals just because the matchups are so much stronger. But we will still talk about the Mammoth as well. And we're going to start on the blue line, actually, which we don't do a ton because I feel like if you want to maximize your roster spot, streaming a forward makes more sense because they're probably going to pick up more points. But you might have recently lost Seth Jones this weekend, or Devon Toews this weekend, or John Klingberg this weekend, or you might simply just need some help on the blue line, which is totally fair. And Durzi is a strong short-term option this week because of the 4 late night games. And he's honestly catching some fire here. He's recorded a point in 8 of his last 9 games, scoring 1 goal, 7 assists with 8 points during that span. He's still not seeing that top power play unit usage, which is going to limit his ceiling, but he is logging over 20 minutes per night and offers a very solid floor. During that stretch, he has averaged 2.1 shots on goal and 5.2 shot attempts per game. Really, really strong there, making him a reliable short-term defensive option that could turn into a long-term defensive option if he ever somehow moves up to that top power play unit. Now we're going to go back to the forwards, where we talked about him a few weeks ago. Lawson Crouse, 9% roster. He was on the second line. They did shuffle this middle 6, actually this entire top 9 around in their last game. I'm not sold that these are set in stone just yet. I don't know for sure that these are going to be the lines. They could go back to Peterka on the top line and Crouse on the second line and Boot on the third line. We'll see in practice today. But Crouse is one of the best banger league streams this week. maybe the best. Since the start of December, he is averaging 1.6 shots on goal, but 2.6 hits per game. So really strong category floor. The offense has really come along as well, especially while he was on that second line, as Crouse posted 9 points, 5 goals, 4 assists in his last 16 games. That is a 26 goal, 21 assist pace, which is pretty solid when you're averaging, 2-3 hits per game. I won't be concerned at all if he does get bumped down to this third line. Might play a minute less tonight or this week. But McBain, Carconi, and Crouse have some of the best 5v5 underlying metrics in the NHL. They generate a ton of quality looks, a ton of high danger looks. So even if he does get bumped, don't worry about it. If you're streaming him in banger formats, it does not matter one bit. Now we're going to talk about Barrett Hayton, who's 2% rostered here on the second line. To me, it feels like Utah has been on this show for this exact reason a lot this year. I haven't actually run the numbers, but I feel like they have had a ton of light nights to date. And I always kind of mention Hayton as like, hey, he's in the top 6, playing with good hockey players, but he's been a tough sell because the offense has been basically non-existent. That has somewhat started to change recently, as Hayton has produced 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points in his last 9 games. He's averaging a very modest 1.4 shots on goal, but also averaging 1 hit per game. So, offers a little bit of banger league value. There's nothing flashy at all about this stream, but he finally might be able to contribute in those deep formats. He is an okay banger league target. Obviously, Crouse is significantly better. And finally, we will wrap it up with the LA Kings, which, as I mentioned, you're going to be able to stream them on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you can drop them on Sunday. The matchups are really, really solid. The Wild are pretty good offensively, but they give up defensively, but they give up a lot of shots again. So this should be a high event game. The Kings did muster 38 shots on goal against the Wild over the weekend. So I do think it's an okay matchup. Obviously, the Sharks are a great matchup, and the Jets just have not been nearly as good this year as they have been in the past. So pretty good matchups here for the Kings. We're going to start with Alex Laferriere. He's lower owned than the other option we're going to talk about, but he is the best option on the Kings right now. Offers just an absolutely excellent floor and extended format. So he is a great banger league stream, but he makes sense in literally every format. Over his last 11 games, he has averaged 3.1 shots on goal, 5.7 shot attempts, and 3.4 hits per game. He's also produced offensively with 4 goals, 7 points in those 11 games. He has been the Kings' most consistent offensive contributor as of late and carries streamer value in every single format. He's still in the top power play unit with Kopitar, Kempe, Doughty, and recently Joel Armia. And then obviously on the top line, he's as good of a position to succeed as anybody, and he has been succeeding as of late. We're also going to look at his line mate here, Anze Kopitar, who's at 33% rostered. Now, he deserves consideration basically only because of the usage. He's averaged 19 minutes and 22 seconds time on ice over his last 12 games. The production has been modest, though. He has just 1 goal, 7 points during that stretch. So it's okay. The problem is he provides literally almost no floor whatsoever. But he does, because he plays in the right situations and he's skating on the top lines, on the top power play unit, the deployment does give him some point potential this week, even if the floor remains super, super low. Obviously guys like Joel Armia moving up the lineup, moving up the top power play unit could be in consideration. I just don't think it's worth it. Honestly, if Laferriere isn't available to you, I'm probably not streaming Kings. I'm probably looking elsewhere. If I had to rank them, Ryan Leonard is number 1 this week. Alex Laferriere is number 2. Hopefully they're both available to you. We've been talking about them a lot on this show this year, so they might already be on your roster, but those would be the top 2 pickups this week, without question. And then, yeah, that's pretty well going to do it. We are going to be back on Thursday to talk about the weekend streaming options. So we do have a couple of teams that have that Friday, Sunday schedule. So we're going to talk about the Capitals again. We're going to talk about the Mammoth again. And we're also going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets later in the week. So that's going to do it for this edition of the DFO Fantasy Show. Tomorrow, we're going to be back with another solo episode, but then on Wednesday, we'll be joined by Beebs Bondy for Waiver Wire Wednesday, and then on Thursday, as always, Dylan Berthew will return to talk about the best weekend streaming candidates. Really, it's going to be a lot of the guys we already talked about, so we'll mix some other things in there as well. So hopefully you can pick up the Ryan Leonards, the Alex Laferrieres, the Lawson Crouses of the world this week, and you can notch another W here in week 14. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more great fantasy hockey and betting content from myself, Carter Hutton, Matthew Barnaby, and the rest of the DFO analysts, make sure you subscribe to the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel today and never miss a minute.